welcome. Today we're going to be looking at the Lorelai blanket. We're going to be looking at the first part, how to make the square to make this gorgeous blanket from the Gilmore girls. So we're going to be using this lovely acrylic duck egg colour, and this is Colour Crafter 1820, and we're going to be using a 4.5 millimeter hook. Now I know that it usually recommends using a 4 millimeter hook with this yarn, but we want this nice drape that the larger hook gives us. But of course, if you want to, you can use the smaller hook. So we're going to start off with a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then slip stitch into the first chain. And then pull that tight. So in that hole we've just made, we're going to make 16 stitches. That's UK trebles, US doubles. So you can do your first starting stitch however you like. If you've got a preferred method, go for it. I like to chain 1, then make a US single, UK double, and then chain 1, and that's my starting stitch. We're going to make a standard US double, UK treble, you yarn over, go through, pull the yarn through. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So we're going to make 14 more of those stitches. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After 8, I like to push the stitches round and just check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 more. 9. Oops. 10. Oops. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. So I like to check before I do the last stitch. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So for the last stitch, I like to take the tail, just give it a little tug and pull it over to the right, and then I go over it. And then I like to flip that up. So I'm just going to now, so that's 16 stitches, and to finish off, I'm going to slip stitch, not into that starting stitch, but into the first proper stitch we made. There we go. So that's round 1. Round 2, we're going to make 16 more stitches with a chain space in between each stitch. So as before, I'm going to chain 1, US single, UK double, and then chain 1. That's my starting stitch. So we're now going to chain 1 for the space, and then make a double, US double, UK treble in the next stitch. Chain 1, and then a US double, UK treble in the next stitch. And we're just going to go all the way around like that. Chain 1, and then a stitch. So at the end of the round, we'll have 16 stitches and 16 chain spaces. This is actually a really nice, quick, easy square to make up. Remember, stitch and chain, stitch and chain, stitch and chain, all the way around. And I think I'm on my last stitch now. I'm going to bring that tail end underneath just to weave it in a bit. And again, I'm going to flip it up and then chain one. But before slip stitching to the beginning, I'm just going to check that I've got 16 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And I'm just going to slip stitch straight into the chain space. So for round 3, we're going to make 1 stitch on top of each stitch and then 2 stitches in each chain space. So there'll be 48 stitches at the end of the round. So this first chain space that we're in, I'm just going to do 1 stitch in it now, and then at the end of the round we'll do the second stitch. So to make that first stitch, I'm going to chain 1, US single, UK double, and then chain 1. And then I'm going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to go all the way around like that. So 2 stitches into the chain space. 1, 2, and then 1 stitch into the stitch all the way around. So at the end there'll be 48 stitches. So I'd love to know if you're here because you just liked the square, or if you're here because you're a Gilmore Girls fan like myself. I'm always binge watching them. And it's season 5 that we first see this blanket. I think season 5, episode 2. The first time you see it, it's actually folded up on the sofa, and there's another blanket that's kind of opened up on the back. So don't worry if it starts to feel like there are too many stitches. If your circle's starting to fold, when we come to square it, it will sort itself out. and it'll all pull into place. So I'm just coming up to the end of my round. If you have still got a ways to go, you can press pause if you've shot ahead. Don't worry, the timestamps are all in the description, so you can always speed ahead if you want. So I'm not actually going to go around and count all 48 stitches. Remember when you get to the end that we haven't done that stitch in that chain space, yeah? So there's the last stitch on top of that stitch, and then I'll do one into the chain space. Yeah, so what I was just saying is I'm not going to count 48 stitches, but I will just quickly eyeball it and check there's 2 in each space, 1 on each stitch. Oh, I thought I'd done an extra stitch. Right, so that's all good. And so to join up, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to slip stitch into that starting stitch. I'm going to go straight across into the first stitch we made above the other stitch. So the first proper stitch we made, not the starting stitch. And that will bring us above, I call these wheel spokes. It'll bring us above a stitch. It'll bring us above one of those wheel spokes. The reason is that what we want is we want these stitches, this one here and this one here, to be above this one here and this one here. It doesn't actually matter. I just think it looks a bit neater, but, you know, don't worry too much about that. So round 4, we're going to turn this circle into a square now. Nice, quick, easy round. So we're going to do a US single or a UK double. To do that, I chain 1 and then I go straight into the stitch and make the US single, UK double. We're going to chain 2 and skip 2 and then do another US single, UK double. And then going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2. We always skip 2, and we're going to do a US double, UK treble. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2, US double, UK treble. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2, US single, UK double. Chain 2, skip 2, US single, UK double. Chain 3, skip 2, US double, UK treble. Chain 3, skip 2, US double, UK treble. Chain 3, skip 2, and then we're going to do a US single, UK double. Chain 2, skip 2, US single, UK double. You might have noticed the pattern now. Chain 3, skip 2, US double, UK treble. Chain 3, skip 2, sorry, getting tangled up with my yarn there, and then we do a US double, UK treble, chain 3, and then we skip 2, US single, UK double, chain 2, skip 2, US single, UK double, chain 3, skip 2, US double, UK treble, chain 3, skip 2, US double, UK treble. So we're at the last chain now to join into our first US single, UK double. When I slip stitch straight into the top of a stitch, I miss one of the chains. So this would be chain 3, but I'm just going to chain 2, and then I'm going to slip stitch, and that slip stitch counts as the 3rd chain. And then we're going to slip stitch into that chain 2 space between the 2 little stitches. Yeah, so if you pop your circle square down, you should be able to go into the corners and just pull it, and it looks like a square. Yeah, so round 5, we're going to start now. Round 5, we're going to do, it's just like a granny square round. So we're going to do 3 stitches in these edge spaces with a chain 1 in between, and then here are the corners. We'll do 3 stitches, chain 2, 3 stitches, and we'll be using US doubles, UK trebles. So I just do the first 2, and then I do the last one when I get back round in this chain space. So my first US double, UK treble, I chain 1, single, US single, UK double, and chain 1, and that's my first stitch. And then I'm going to do the second stitch and then chain 1, and we're going to go into the next chain space. So we're going to do 3 US doubles, UK trebles in here, then we chain 1 and into the corner. So we're going to do 3 stitches, and chain 2, 3 stitches. I can feel my yarns getting a bit tangled. 1, 2, 3, and then chain 1. I'm just going to have to put this down and sort this little mess out. I think I've got enough slack there for the minute. So into the next chain space, remember chain 1 in between, and then 3 stitches. Chain 1 at the in between, and then 3 more stitches in the next chain space. Chain 1 and 3 stitches. Chain 1, and then we're back into the corner. So we're going to do 3 stitches, chain 2. Oh, got a bit of pickle there. Let's take that out. Let's go all the way back to that stitch. So chain 2 for the corner, and then 3 more stitches in the corner. chain 1 and into the next stitch. Not stitch, chain space. 3 more stitches in the next chain space. And chain 1 and then into the next chain space, 3 more stitches. So remember, they're US doubles, UK trebles, just like a granny square. Chain 1 and then I'm back to the next corner, so I'm going to do 3 stitches, then chain 2 and 3 more stitches. After your 3 stitches, chain 1 and into the next chain space, 3 more stitches. Chain 1 and into the next chain space, 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, chain 1 and into the next chain space. Chain 1 and we're back to the, sorry about that. So we're in, so chain 1 and into the last corner we do 3 stitches. Chain 2 and then 3 more stitches. After 3 stitches, chain 1 and we're in the last chain space now, so we make 3 stitches. Chain 1 and we've got 1 more stitch to do into that first chain space we were working in, so do that stitch and then again we're not going to slip stitch into that starting stitch. We're going to go across into the top of the first proper stitch we made. Yep, and that's 5 rounds, so that's not looking like a square. Yeah. So round 6, we join the squares together. So your first square, you'll just carry on and make 6 rounds. And from then on, you're going to start joining them together. So what we're going to do is we're going to join this square to this square. And we're going to join the square on, if we call this edge that we're starting on, edge 1, edge 2, edge 3, and then we're going to join when we get to edge 4. And we're going to do that, instead of using chain spaces, we're going to use slip stitches. So we're just going to go around as normal until we get to the corner, the second to last corner that we make. Okay, so we're going to slip stitch over into the chain space. And I'm going to do the same thing I did at the start of the, I'm going to take that out just because it messes around with the focus. I'm going to start do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to do 2 stitches and then I'll leave the last stitch, the third stitch, till we get back round. So I'm going to chain 1, US single, UK double, chain 1, then I'm going to yarn over, insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So they're my first 2 stitches. Then chain 1, and we'll hop across to the next chain space, and we're going to make 3 stitches in here. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and we're into the corner. If you're not in the corner, don't worry if you've ended up in different places, as long as you follow the, you know, the pattern comes out right. So into the corner, I'm going to do 3 stitches, chain 2, and then 3 stitches. After those 3 stitches, we chain 1, and then into the next chain space, 3 more stitches. I've just got to get some slack. So that's 1, 2, 3, chain 1, into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and into the next chain space. Chain 1 and into the next chain space after your 3 stitches. So it's just normal granny square. If you haven't made a granny square yet, go do it. Everyone who crochets should know how to make a granny square. You learn a lot from making granny squares. So into the next corner, we do 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3, and then we chain 2 and 3 more stitches. Remember, US doubles, UK trebles. All the stitches in this pattern are US doubles, UK trebles, apart from when we squared the circle and we used those little stitches. So after the 3 stitches, chain 1 and into the next chain space. So this is the last edge we're doing before joining. If this is your first square, which it probably is, you just carry on with this chain 1, 3 stitches, chain 1, 3 stitches, yeah, until you get to the end. And then when you're ready, on your second square, you'll start joining them. So it builds up really quick, the blanket, because you join the squares as you go. There's no faffing around at the end, having to join them all up. So 1, 2, 3 stitches, chain 1, and then 3 stitches in the next. Oops. Chain space. After 3 stitches, chain 1 and into the next chain space. So I'm just coming up to the corner now. So I've done my 3 stitches. I'm going to chain 1. So I'm going to make the corner. So 3 stitches. Then I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. We don't join the corners of the squares next to each other. We join the corners of the squares diagonal from each other. So we're going to complete this whole corner. Yeah. So we're going to do 3 more stitches. So this is where we start joining. Yeah. So instead of doing the chain 1, we're going to slip stitch into this square. So we're going to go underneath, and then we're going to pull the yarn through and then we just do 3 stitches into the next chain space. Yeah, and then we're going to slip stitch and then chain, not chain, 3 more stitches in there. So that's now joined, and I've just left it, you can see it's just hanging there until I need to slip stitch again. So 3 stitches, and then slip stitch into the next space, and then into the next chain space, 3 stitches, remember, then we slip stitch into there, oops, and then 3 more stitches. After 3 stitches, we slip stitch, and then that's the last slip stitch because we're now into the corner. So we're going to do 3 stitches. Oops. 1, 2, 3. We're going to chain 2. Now, if we were going to join the corners, we would join this corner to the square that goes here, and we would do chain 1, and then we would slip stitch into that corner over there, and then chain 1 and do the other 3 stitches in here to finish the corner off. So that's 1, 2, 3, chain 1 into the chain space, 1, 2, 3, chain 1 into the next chain space, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and we just need to do that last stitch in there because we only did 2 before. So into there, and then slip stitch across, and we're done. And those 2 squares are now joined, and you just carry on like so. Join me again and we will look at how to create this lovely little border once you've put all your squares together.